everyone, and welcome to Walking Through the Bible. Ezra is now preparing to return to Judah, being tasked by Artaxerxes of Persia with ensuring that Judah was following Jehovah according to the law of Moses. This journey would be a long one that crossed much of the same land that Abraham trekked from Ur of the Chaldees over a millennium and a half before. He was returning with a small remnant of priests, those from the house of David, as well as some from other families in Israel. Having now assembled those who would be returning, Ezra was now ready to leave. Let's see the beginning of that journey. If you have a Bible with you, turn to Ezra chapter 8. We're going to be reading from verses 15 through 23. If you don't have a Bible, don't worry, just follow along with us on the screen. The version that we'll be reading from is the New King James Version. So, Ezra chapter 8, beginning at verse 15. Now I gathered them by the river that flows to Ahava, and we camped there 3 days. And I looked among the people and the priests, and found none of the sons of Levi there. Then I sent for Eleazar, Ariel, Shemaiah, Elnathan, Jerub, Elnathan, Nathan, Zechariah, and Meshullam, leaders, also for Joirib and Elnathan, men of understanding. And I gave them command for Iddo, the chief man at the place Casiphia, and told them what they should say to Iddo and his brethren, to the Nethanim at the place of Casiphia, that they should bring us servants for the house of our God. Then by the good hand of our God upon us, they brought us a man of understanding, of the sons of Malai, the sons of Levi, the son of Israel, namely Sherebiah with his sons and brothers, 18 men, and Hashabiah, and with him Jeshiah of the sons of Merari, his brothers and their sons, 20 men. Also of the Nethanim, whom David and the leaders had appointed for the service of the Levites, 220 Nethanim. All of them were designated by name. Then I proclaimed a fast there at the river of Ahava, that we might humble ourselves before our God to seek from him the right way for us and our little ones and all our possessions. For I was ashamed to request of the king an escort of soldiers and horsemen to help us against the enemy on the road, because we had spoken to the king, saying, the hand of our God is upon all those for good who seek him, but his power and his wrath are against all those who forsake him. So we fasted and entreated our God for this, and he answered our prayer. In the last lesson, we had another list of names of those who would be returning with Ezra to Judah. Absent from that list were any Levites. Now this might be confusing, since we know that the priests were of the house of Levi, so how could it be said that there were no Levites? But as we saw in the parable of Good Samaritan in Luke 10, priests and Levites were often delineated separately. Priests were a specific family of the house of Levi, while Levites represented all other houses. So when Ezra said that there were no Levites, what he is saying is that there were no other families of the house of Levi represented among the numbers of returning captives besides the houses of the priests. Now, why might this be? Well, if you recall back to Ezra 2, there were only 74 men of the house of Levi who returned with Zerubbabel, while there were 4,289 priests. Did this mean that of the Levites, more were content remaining in Persia rather than returning as servants of the temple? Did the jealous spirit of Korah, found back in number 16, still exist in these families? Perhaps, but for whatever reason, it was hard for both Zerubbabel and Ezra to get the other families of the house of Levi to return with them. Ezra was not going to return without Levites, however, so he tasked certain leaders and men of understanding with rectifying this. And to their credit, by the good hand of God, they did, for they found 40 Levites and 220 Nethanim, temple servants, to accompany them. Was this a large number? No. But it wasn't nothing either, showing us that there were some who were willing to return with Ezra when pressed. These additional 260 men with their families joined Ezra in the 3-day camp that had been set up by the river that flows to Ahava. We do not know exactly where this Ahava is, but it is likely the name of a town or district near Babylon and would mark the beginning of the journey of Ezra back to Judah. Before leaving, Ezra proclaimed a fast. Now you might think that proclaiming a fast before setting out on a long journey would be rather dumb, for you would need strength in order to make such a long journey. And while that is true, this specific fast served a purpose: to humble themselves before God and to seek his guiding presence and protection along the way against the enemies that they would encounter. You see, in this instance, Ezra had been so certain that God was with him and would protect him that he did not seek an escort from Artaxerxes that they might arrive safely in Judah, along with the wealth that Artaxerxes was sending with them to sacrifice to God and to beautify the temple. But God had not directly promised Ezra to do this, even though we knew he would. Therefore, Ezra wanted to ensure that time be given for prayer and supplication to God for that protection and for that prosperous journey. And so this fast was proclaimed, and we have seen, as we have seen in other places in both the Old and New Testaments. Doing this teaches us that although God makes certain promises, God expects his people to remain humble, to not take God for granted, and to neglect to honor, worship, and acknowledge their reliance on him for what he provides. God also wants his people to be a thankful people for all that he does for them. People often ask, why does God want his people to pray if he already knows their needs? Here is a reason why. So that his people remain humble and thankful. Ezra was confident in God's protection, but he wasn't going to become haughty about it, and he didn't want to give Artaxerxes any reason to doubt God's existence or power, so he proclaimed this fast in order for him and the people to devote themselves to prayer to God before their journey. Today, whether or not and when we fast is something that God leaves up to the Christian, but there should be time that we set aside to pray. During times of turmoil, we often think to pray, but we need to be a people of prayer, a people that will approach God in times of important decisions, seeking wisdom, a people that approach God in times of thanksgiving for God's provisions, a people that approach God in times of weakness and fear, seeking strength and mercy. This is what Ezra did, and God answered their prayer through protecting them, and this is what the Christian should do as well. We'll continue with Ezra's journey, the Lord willing, in the next lesson. With that, our time is up for today. The Lord willing, I hope you'll join us for tomorrow's discussion of Ezra chapter 8, verses 24 to 36, as we continue our walk through the Bible, one verse at a time. We thank you for watching Walking Through the Bible today. If you have any questions or comments, you can leave them below. But if you like this video, we ask that you consider subscribing to our channel so you won't miss out on other videos in our series, as well as share this video among your friends so that the saving message of Jesus Christ can go out to the whole world.